Welcome back to Rewind and Review, your ultimate destination for deep dive movie recaps and film analysis. Today we're taking a journey into the adrenaline-fueled world of Aliens, 1986, directed by the legendary James Cameron. Now, if you're a fan of sci-fi and action, you're probably no stranger to this masterpiece. Often hailed as one of Cameron's best films, Aliens not only redefined the science fiction genre, but also set the standard for how sequels should be made. Building on the tension of Ridley Scott's original Alien, 1979, Cameron took the reins and transformed it into an action-packed thriller, blending horror, suspense, and high-octane combat sequences. This movie is a standout example of Cameron's ability to merge storytelling with technical innovation, making it one of the greatest sequels in film history. Whether you're here to relive the excitement or discover this classic for the first time, we've got you covered. Let's dive into the unforgettable story of Aliens and see why this film remains a benchmark in cinema. Our story begins in the cold reaches of space, where Ellen Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, is discovered drifting in hypersleep after the events of the first Alien film. Ripley is found by a deep space salvage crew. They're as surprised to see her as she is to realize she's survived decades in hypersleep. She's brought aboard a space station orbiting Earth. In this moment, Ripley is jolted back into a world she barely recognizes. The haunting memories of her battle with the terrifying xenomorph are still fresh in her mind, but she now finds herself disoriented in a sterile and unfamiliar future. This moment of Ripley waking up from cryosleep is crucial because it grounds her character as a survivor, haunted by both time and terror. It reminds us that while she may be a fierce warrior, Ripley is also vulnerable and human. Her world is thrown further into chaos when Carter Burke, a representative of Weyland-Yutani Corporation, enters the scene. Burke gently breaks the shocking news that Ripley has been in cryosleep for 57 years. The world she once knew is gone. Confusion and fear set in as she's confronted by this reality. Burke attempts to ease her into the harsh reality, but the underlying corporate motives make his reassurances feel hollow. Ripley struggles to comprehend. In this one particularly unnerving scene, Ripley has a vivid nightmare. She finds herself lying in a medical examination room, under observation by doctors. Suddenly, Ripley feels something wrong in her chest. She touches her stomach and, to her horror, a sharp pain spreads through her body. Panic takes over as she struggles to breathe. Her chest bulges grotesquely, and a sickeningly familiar shape presses against her skin. In a flash, Ripley realizes what's happening. An alien embryo is inside her body, preparing to burst out, just like it did to her former crewmates. The pressure builds, and just when it seems like the alien is about to rip through her, Ripley wakes up in a cold sweat. It was all a nightmare, a vivid and horrifying reflection of her trauma. In a quiet, almost sterile conversation, Burke informs Ripley that during her long sleep, her daughter Amanda grew old and passed away. Ripley is devastated. The realization that her promise to see her daughter again is now impossible adds a heavy emotional burden to Ripley's already traumatic experience with the xenomorph. This moment humanizes Ripley further, showing her as not just a survivor, but also a mother who has lost everything. Not long after, Ripley is pulled back into action when she's brought to a military briefing. A colony called Hadley's Hope, located on the same planet where the alien eggs were first found, has gone silent. The colonial marines, alongside Ripley, are tasked with investigating the situation. LV-426 has now been colonized. Alien xenomorphs have now impregnated nearly the entire human colony. However, Ripley is extremely cautious, having experienced the true danger of the aliens firsthand. During the briefing, Burke subtly hints at another sinister agenda. He and Weyland-Yutani are not only interested in the colony's status, but also in retrieving alien specimens for research and weaponization. Ripley, already traumatized and wary of corporate greed, immediately opposes this, knowing that these creatures are too dangerous to be studied or used as weapons. With military precision, the plan is set to explore Hadley's Hope, but Ripley is torn. Her desire to avoid the creatures at all costs conflicts with her sense of duty, and the moral responsibility she feels toward preventing the horrors she's lived through from spreading. This sets the stage for one of the greatest call-to-action moments in cinematic history. Ripley, though reluctant, is convinced to join a squad of colonial marines to investigate what happened on LV-426. This film wastes no time building tension. From the very start, we feel the weight of Ripley's trauma and the looming threat of what's to come. Cameron's direction here is masterful, balancing character development with a slow-burning sense of dread. As Ripley joins the mission, we're introduced to one of the most iconic teams in sci-fi cinema, the Colonial Marines. These soldiers are tough, cocky, and armed to the teeth, giving the audience a false sense of security. With characters like the wise-cracking Private Hudson, played by Bill Paxton, and the no-nonsense Corporal Hicks, portrayed by Michael Biehn. The ensemble cast quickly earns our investment. Then there's Bishop, the android played by Lance Henriksen, whose calm demeanor adds an eerie layer of uncertainty. Cameron masterfully builds tension here by contrasting the Marines' bravado with Ripley's quiet fear. She knows what's waiting for them on LV-426, even if the others don't fully grasp the horror they're about to face. The chemistry between the cast, along with the rapid-fire dialogue, gives Aliens its unique blend of horror and action, making us care deeply about these characters. Ripley and the Marines are on board the USS Sulaco, a massive military ship cruising through space toward the remote planet. Inside, the Marines are preparing for battle, boasting about their firepower and tech while Ripley watches quietly, her unease growing. She's no soldier, but she knows what's coming. As they approach LV-426, the Sulaco docks, and the Marines board a dropship for their descent. Through the thick atmosphere, the team descends toward the surface, the once thriving colony now a desolate, storm-lashed wasteland. Tension is high as the Marines set down and gear up. They reach the colony's doors, ready for whatever awaits inside. The atmosphere is thick with suspense as they suit up and step into the abandoned complex. The cold, dimly lit corridors stretch out in front of them, metal walls glistening with condensation, giving the sense that something is lurking just out of sight. The group, led by Sergeant Apone, begins their tense sweep, their footsteps echoing through the narrow halls. There's a haunting stillness to the place. As they move deeper inside, the Marines find overturned furniture, signs of a struggle, and discarded personal items. It's a bizarre sight that leaves the team on edge. They know now something is waiting, but the true horror is yet to come. The team find a young girl called Newt, who is the only survivor. Ripley takes care of her, and they create a tight bond like that of a mother and child. James Cameron is very clever here in this area of the storyline, to have this type of bond because it brings the best qualities of a woman out on full display, the quality of a caring mother. Ripley shows this in her relationship with Newt, whilst in the midst of darkness and terror. As the team advances into the reactor room, the air grows thicker. Their motion trackers begin to beep faintly, signaling movement in the walls. The quiet hum of the equipment is drowned out by the growing tension in their hearts. As they make their way to the reactor room, the Marines discover a horrific scene. The colonists have been cocooned by the aliens and are being used to incubate xenomorphs. One of the colonists is still barely alive, but before the team can help her, a chest burster explodes from her body, signaling the presence of the terrifying creatures. The Marines prepare for battle. Using motion scanners, the Marines detect movement in the dark corridors of the hive, but when they scan for the aliens, they find nothing. Suddenly, xenomorphs begin to emerge from the walls, cleverly using the environment to their advantage. Panic erupts as the Marines are ambushed from all directions. Despite their firepower, the squad is overwhelmed. Some Marines fall as the others desperately retreat. Ripley, taking control of the situation, commandeers the armored vehicle and rushes in to save the remaining survivors. The carnage is intense as xenomorphs swarm the Marines, forcing them to flee. The survivors regroup, but the brutal reality sets in. This is no ordinary battle, and the xenomorphs are a far more dangerous and intelligent enemy than they ever imagined. Ripley and Newt find themselves trapped in a room, helpless and vulnerable. The atmosphere is thick with tension as the camera zooms in on the two facehuggers skittering across the floor, their long, spidery legs creeping toward Ripley and Newt. What makes this scene so nail-biting is the sense of helplessness, as both characters are locked inside the room, behind an indestructible glass wall, unable to call for help. The looming threat of an alien attack feels inevitable, no matter how well prepared you are. Ripley's quick thinking saves them as she uses a lighter to set off the sprinkler system, drawing the attention of the Marines just in time. It's a moment of pure suspense, leading up to a chaotic rescue by Corporal Hicks and the rest of the squad. As they frantically try to break free, Ripley spots the facehugger creeping closer, its intent clear, to attach itself to them and implant a xenomorph embryo. This scene perfectly captures the sheer horror of aliens. Desperately struggling to break free, she uses every ounce of strength, fighting for breath as the creature tightens its grip, pushing her closer to the brink of death. Newt also fighting to keep the other facehugger away from impregnating her. An absolute class display on terror and horror. The Colonial Marines set up sentry guns to fend off the xenomorphs. The Marines watch nervously as the motion sensors pick up movement. Waves of aliens charge, triggering the guns into action, unloading heavy firepower. The ammunition count quickly drops, adding to the intensity. The aliens persist, but the guns manage to hold them back, for now. The team realizes they're barely surviving, with limited ammo and relentless enemies. This scene brilliantly highlights the unstoppable force of the xenomorphs and the growing desperation of the Marines. Tension hits a peak when Ripley and the team find themselves in a desperate battle against the xenomorphs. After their initial attempts to secure the complex fail, the motion tracker starts beeping wildly, but nothing's visible. Confusion turns to dread as Corporal Hicks realizes they're not coming from the front, they're coming from above. As he lifts the ceiling panel, a terrifying sight unfolds, a swarm of xenomorphs crawling through the vents. Panic sets in as the team scrambles to fire at the creatures, but they're already being overrun. The aliens descend through the roof, their razor-sharp teeth and acidic blood creating chaos as they tear through the defenses. One by one, the team members fall as the ambush becomes a massacre. Vasquez and Hudson fight fiercely, spraying bullets and grenades, but the relentless onslaught seems unstoppable. The tension mounts as Ripley tries to rally the survivors, but even with their military-grade firepower, the xenomorphs are relentless. This sequence is one of the most iconic moments in Aliens, capturing the sheer terror of being outnumbered and outmatched. The claustrophobic setting, combined with the aliens' unpredictable attack from above, keeps audiences on the edge of their seats. Newt is suddenly grabbed by one of the terrifying aliens. This moment is a gut-wrenching turn of events. Despite their best efforts to rescue her, Newt slips through the floor, dragged into the dark underworld of the alien hive. Ripley is devastated, knowing the horrors Newt is about to face. But instead of giving in to despair, her maternal instincts kick in full throttle. Ripley refuses to abandon Newt to the merciless aliens. In a breathtaking display of bravery, she arms herself with everything she can find: a flamethrower, a pulse rifle, grenades, and a tracking device to locate Newt. Her face is set with determination as she prepares to descend into the depths of the alien hive. The transformation is clear. Ripley is now a warrior on a mission, ready to face the ultimate terror to save Newt. Ripley's descent into the hive is a masterclass in tension. The claustrophobic atmosphere, the dripping walls, and the eerie glow of the alien lair create an otherworldly environment filled with dread. As she approaches Newt's location, Ripley stumbles upon the alien eggs. The horrifying reality of where she is hits home. She's in the Queen's lair, and the stakes have never been higher. In one of the most iconic moments in sci-fi history, Ripley finally comes face to face with the alien Queen. The Queen is enormous, towering over Ripley, surrounded by her terrifying brood of eggs. For a moment, they stand in a tense standoff. Ripley's flamethrower is trained on the Queen's precious eggs, a silent threat to burn the entire hive to the ground if the Queen makes a move. But as always with xenomorphs, things quickly escalate. When one of the facehugger eggs starts to open, Ripley unleashes hell. She opens fire with her flamethrower and pulse rifle, obliterating the hive in a blaze of fury. The Queen shrieks in rage, and the entire nest erupts into chaos. With the Queen in hot pursuit, Ripley grabs Newt and races back to the elevator, but not before the Queen tears herself free from her egg-laying apparatus to follow them. As Ripley and Newt ascend, the Queen is not far behind. The tension is unbearable, but they manage to make it back to the dropship in the nick of time. In a shocking moment, the alien Queen, who is somehow stowed away, emerges from the darkness. Without warning, the Queen strikes. Bishop, the synthetic android, is lifted off the ground by the Queen's massive tail. With a vicious rip, he's torn in half, and his android fluids spill across the deck. It's a shocking and gruesome sight, leaving Ripley and Newt vulnerable with no help in sight. Ripley's heart races as she grabs Newt and backs away, the towering Queen now fully revealing herself from the dropship's cargo hold. The alien behemoth, an enormous, terrifying creature, roars in fury. It's clear she's not here for a simple hunt. She's after revenge. Ripley knows there's no easy escape. She urgently commands Newt to hide as she bravely takes charge of the situation. She locks eyes with the Queen, who charges forward with intent to kill. With no time to waste, Ripley hurries towards a storage area and prepares for the battle of her life. In one of the film's most iconic moments, Ripley emerges in a massive power loader, a robotic exoskeleton used for heavy lifting. Her famous words ring out, "Get away from her, you bitch." Ripley's not just fighting for survival now, she's protecting the little girl she's grown to care for like her own daughter. The battle between Ripley and the Queen is nothing short of epic. The power loader enhances Ripley's strength, allowing her to go head-to-head with the massive alien in a ferocious back-and-forth struggle. The Queen's tail lashes out, slashing at Ripley, while the loader's claws grip the creature's jaws in a desperate attempt to keep her at bay. Every move is calculated. Every second is a fight for survival. The battle reaches its climax when Ripley forces the Queen towards the airlock. Using every ounce of strength, Ripley opens the hatch, sending the Queen plunging into the void of space. But it's not over yet. The Queen grabs hold of Ripley, pulling her towards the airlock too. Ripley dangles precariously, fighting to hold on, as the relentless vacuum of space threatens to pull her out. With seconds to spare, Ripley clings to the ladder inside the airlock and uses her quick thinking to finally release the Queen's grip. The xenomorph Queen is violently sucked out into space, thrashing in fury before disappearing into the abyss. The airlock slams shut and Ripley collapses, exhausted but victorious. Ripley cradles Newt as they prepare for cryosleep, drifting into space after surviving the nightmare. A fragile piece for now. As the final battle comes to a close, and Ripley narrowly escapes the wrath of the terrifying Queen, we witnessed a heart-pounding conclusion that solidifies Aliens as one of the greatest sci-fi horror action films ever made. James Cameron masterfully builds on the tense atmosphere established in Ridley Scott's original Alien, but ramps it up with thrilling action and unforgettable characters. From Ripley's fierce resilience to the pulse-pounding confrontations with the xenomorphs, Aliens delivers a perfect blend of horror and action that is unmatched in the entire Alien saga. Many consider Aliens to be not only the best installment in the franchise, but also one of the best sci-fi action films of all time, redefining the genre for future generations. Cameron's direction, the visual effects, and the intense storytelling make it a masterpiece that continues to stand the test of time. Thanks for watching this in-depth recap of Aliens. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to Rewind and Review and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our next movie breakdowns. We'll continue bringing you the very best films from across decades and around the world, covering a variety of genres to keep your movie cravings satisfied. From sci-fi to action, horror to drama, we've got you covered, so stay tuned for more incredible recaps that dive deep into the greatest moments in cinema. See you in the next video.